So, explaining how I make a single layer bow like this, or head wrap. I start with, it takes 3 pieces of material and I hand stitch it. I usually like to use like embroidery thread just because it's a little thicker. For my daughter, at her size, I use a 15 by 4 inch piece for the wrap around the head, and then I have a 10-inch piece, or a piece that's you can go a little over 10 inches if you want your bow to be exactly 5 inches by 4 inch, and then a 2 or a little over 2 inch wide by 4 inch piece for your wrap, or your center, bow center. So to start with, I just take and turn the front sides of the fabric together, and I've tied off the end of my needle and thread, and I just stitch it through. So, and then I tighten all this as tight as it can go at the end of, after I've stitched through, and then I'm gonna lock my stitch. I'm not sure if I lock it the proper way that you're really supposed to lock a stitch, but I just like to go back through a couple times. I usually go back through the first time, and then the second time I kind of create a little knot in the stitch. And then go through. So then after that, I just slip off the end of the thread. And it will look like that. And you could actually leave it like that. It would still make a cute little head wrap. But to finish off with the bow, I take my centerpiece, I have to retie my thread here. I take my centerpiece, and as you can see, my cut is not like a perfectly straight cut, but it's not something you notice once you get your bow together. And then at 5 inches on my board, I fold it just a little past the 5-inch mark, and then I do the other side the same way. Helps to make sure you're like right in the center of your bow, and your bow is going to be even on both sides. And then to hold it in place, I just take 2 straight pins and lock it in place there. And then I'll basically do the same stitch through this. And then pull my needles out, or my straight pins out. And then I'll pull my bow tight. I like to go around the back way because if you pull it around the front, it kind of folds the ribbon forward, or the fabric forward, but if you go the back way, it doesn't tend to pull quite as much. And I like to do that just to give it a more pinched look. But if you like the wider look of the bow, you can leave it like that. You just need to make your center probably a little longer. And I usually wrap these once. That tends to be enough too. And then I just try and make sure that it's the way I like the bow to look. Of course, it's going to change a little when you get your center on, but you want it, you know, to kind of place it the way you like and have the fabric laying the way you like. And then on the back, I just choose a spot and I again lock my stitch, pull it through a couple times, and tie it in a little knot. Dealing with babies. So I lock it in place. A couple times, and then again just snip off the end of my thread, and then I like to secure my bow to my band by actually stitching the bow to the band. I don't use glue or anything. So then I just kind of eyeball it, find the center of what I think about the bow is, and go through it. And then I do the same with the band, find the center and stitch through. And pull it tight. And if you look at the back of my bow, that's where all this, the two sides meet, so that you don't see that, of course, when you have it finished. Then I like to flip it over. You can see where the thread's coming through the back of the bow. I go through it one more time, back through to the other side. Just to get it good and secured to the band, so helps to keep it from flopping out or coming apart. And then in the back again, I just lock my stitch. Just to make sure it's on there good and tight. I hand sew these because I just think to get the sewing machine out and everything for this is a lot of work to do these small straight stitches. So on this piece, I like to, so that I have clean, like nice edges, I like to fold it in either like, kind of like you did the center bow, just a little, overlap the edges a little so that your other side looks nice and clean and with no raw edges showing. On this, then after you fold it like this, you put it through, put your front sides, you want your raw edges on the outside of your stitch. And then again, you just kind of straight stitch through. And depending on how tight you want your centers, I do mine It's fairly tight, but I don't do it to where it stretches the fabric, just because I don't want the fabric, of course, to have that stretched look. And especially if you're using a color, a black fabric or something, it'll lighten the color of the fabric if it's stretched too tight. So on these, because they're so small, I do go back, all the way back. I stitch one way and then I stitch back the other way again, just to make sure that they're locked up tight and that it's not going to come apart on somebody that's wearing it, or with like my 7-month-old pulling on it or whatever. They stay together nicely, and I'm not constantly trying to fix it. That's part of the reason I don't tie my bows, is because my 7-month-old would personally pull them apart constantly. She likes to pull them, so I just don't. And like I said, I don't tie that pretty, so it probably wouldn't turn out that nice, or at least if I got it nice once, she'd probably pull it apart and I wouldn't be able to. So as you can see, I've got a little bit left at the end. I just snip that off. And then I flip this piece inside out, or right side out, I guess, and turn it so that your stitching is in the back of the bow where you stitched it together. And that covers all your other stitching as well, so that you don't have any. And then you just fix it in place however you like it to look. If you want to make it a little skinnier or a little wider, you can. It hangs out in place pretty well. And as you can see, like I said, it's tight enough to hold the bow together, but not so tight it pulls on the fabric and makes disforms the polka dots or anything. And then that's how it looks. And then this one matches her outfit for the day, so this is what it looks like on. Huh.